afternoon, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host. Thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's webinar is Cherwell Tips and Tricks, presented by Jason Gluck. Jason is a critical team player with over 15 years of leadership experience in the ITSM industry, with hands-on knowledge of business process systems and enterprise implementations of IT and ITSM solutions, including Footprint Service Core and Asset Core, Cherwell, Easy Vista, Trackit, and many others. With over 10 widely accepted IT certification organizations such as Microsoft, Cisco Systems, CompTIA, and ITIL, Jason has been able to lead many diverse teams through significant changes, both technical and strategic, by listening to the needs of stakeholders and concerns of employees while producing positive attitudes towards change. Jason has been a guest and keynote speakers for regional and national ITSM and HDI events. Jason is currently the Director of Pre-Sales Engineers at Flycast Partners and ensures consistent delivery of all pre-sales activities for Flycast Partners. Let me tell you more about Flycast Partners. We provide IT, service management, and asset management consulting to organizations across North America. Our clients remain ahead of the curve on technology adoption while maintaining the rock-solid principles of ITIL and practical-focused projects. Our website is always monitored by our team of well-trained ITSM specialists. Please visit us online at www.cherwellpartner.com. We encourage you to utilize our website for researching industry white papers, training that is available from ITIL to ITSM tools, assistance with professional services, and a new ITSM solution finder or free ITSM selection kit. During this presentation, we will try to answer the majority of the biggest challenges, the most popular biggest challenges you presented to us. You will be allowed to ask questions. I encourage you to type your questions in the questions part of the WebEx tool, and I will ask these questions towards the end of Jason. He'll try to answer as many questions as he can. So please do not hold back on your questions. Ask whatever it is that you're wanting to know, and we'll try to get that answered for you. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn this presentation over to Jason Gluck. Jason, I've just passed the screen over to you, sir.
Yes. So what I'd like to do today is kind of give a high-level overview of Cherwell for those of you who are joining the webinar who have never seen Cherwell before. And from all of the sign-ups that we had for this webinar, there were many different requests to see different things. So for today, what I'd like to do is, besides providing a high-level overview, I'd actually like to address a new employee setup process within Cherwell, because many of you shared concerns that today in your current system or in your current environment, it's very difficult for you to manage that employee setup. So I'll actually be going underneath the hood and showing you how that is set up in Cherwell and how that can function in the system. But before I do that, I'd like to go ahead and give a high-level overview of the Cherwell system, just to get everyone acclimated to the product itself. So Cherwell is a ITSM service management platform. You can basically develop and or create workflows in the system without any coding. Everything is throughout the GUI, and the interface itself is more of a drag and drop type of administration. So very easy to administer and make changes to. Just to give you a high-level overview real quick, what I'll do is actually log into the customer portal, and here you can see from that portal you can display many different types of information, including a community discussion board where customers can interact and chat with each other. And then even once they sign into the portal, you have the ability to display a lot more information and provide interactions with your service desk. Typically speaking, most of our customers interact with the portal for incident and request management, for those of you who are familiar with the ITIL processes. And to show you, a customer can easily report an outage or an incident within the system simply by clicking one button, answering a few questions or a few boxes and comments, and being able to select whether or not this affects multiple users or not. So the idea here is that you're able to capture information from the customer very quickly, very easily, and have that translate into specific forms or fields within the actual incident or request record. So a lot of power behind the tool itself. The beautiful part is that Cherwell out of the box comes pre-configured with everything you see here. So I have not actually made any changes to the system itself from the default out of the box installation. You also have, as part of the out of box configuration, is a service catalog where users can then provide a request for various different items or activities within your organization for the services that you offer, and very easily submit incidents or requests again for certain items. So as an example, for requesting a projector, very easily you can capture the information for that particular request. You have the ability to capture specific information based upon the type of request that they're making. So in this example, a request a projector, I can ask the customer, how long do they intend this projector will be needed for checking out purposes, additional equipment that they may need, and being able to translate this into the request for the technician to satisfy the request. So again, out of the box, very easy, very quick to implement, and very powerful in terms of the information that it can capture and or display. And just to show you from the technician perspective, Cherwell allows you to have multiple ways to get in to the system as a technician. You have the desktop client, which we're looking at now. You also have a web version of this client through Internet Explorer, Chrome, or Firefox, and Safari. And in addition to that, you even have the mobile applications for iOS and Android devices. So a lot of ways for technicians to get into the system and interact with the Cherwell application. Just to show you as an example for some of those requests that I had submitted into the system, I actually will go and use the dashboard to find this information. And here you can quickly and easily see the requests that I submitted into the system. Here's my request for a projector. A lot of the information has been filled out for me, and of course the customer contact information is there. Again, because of the power behind the Cherwell in terms of administration capabilities, anything and everything that you see on this screen can be configured and or changed. So if for your organization you are not using a CMDB or tracking the assets on a particular incident record, you can easily remove these fields. If you wanted to capture different information or additional information for the requester of the projector, you can do that as well. So I can easily see and change all these screens here. And of course, at the end of the webinar, I can show you the administration side of how to make those changes as well, if anybody wants to see that. Okay. To jump into the actual purpose of the webinar and some of the most requested items for this webinar, I'd like to actually walk you through the new employee setup process. It definitely can be challenging for organizations to manage the new employee setup process. So let me take you through what's out of the box and how we can even change it from there. So as a customer, I might be a manager of a department and have a need for a new employee setup. So from there, I would actually browse the service catalog. I can see within the service catalog, there's an employee support area. And again, this all ties directly into the services and categorization that you offer as an IT organization. And I can choose new employee setup. Okay, and again, everything you see is out of the box. So for here, I could say I have a new hire employee. I can fill in different information about that employee, whether or not they're a VIP in the organization, what facility they'll be in, and even their status maybe. So there's a lot of detail and information, again, out of the box that's been pre-configured for you so that you can capture the relevant information about the new employee setup. From there, out of the box, you have the ability to specify what type of computer hardware that this particular new hire may need. This list can be configured and modified, which I will show you how to do momentarily. And from there, of course, display the relevant information about that device, maybe provide additional accessories for that device, what mobile device that particular new hire may need or none, and then, of course, what software that particular person might need. And you can have different packages available. And again, you can configure this list to be more relevant to your organization specifically. Of course, you also have additional information, such as do they need a desk set up or network access for certain security groups, and even additional notes that they may want to provide to you for this new hire. All right. So again, everything you've seen so far is out of the box. And again, as part of the webinar, I'll be showing you how some of these things can be changed. Once I submit this service request for a new employee setup, I'll receive a request ID and be able to actually go on to the technician side and see this new employee request. Now, one of the nice parts about Cherwell is that you have the ability to automate a lot of the process for the new employee setup. So here I can see I have a new hire employee request in the system. And of course, I've captured all the relevant information, and I can see everything that the customer or the manager has submitted for that new employee setup. All right. So one of the benefits, of course, of Cherwell is the ability to automate a lot of the internal tasks that might be required for this new employee setup. And here you can see right now, there are none whatsoever. Just to make sure, I'll refresh it. And now there are 8. So administratively speaking, there's back-end automation processes that run that will detect when a particular new type of ticket has been created, such as new employee setup, and can automatically create all the appropriate tasks for that particular new employee request. So as you can see, based upon some of the checkmark boxes that I selected, I was able to have a new employee work item created. Maybe this will be for HR, so they can add this person to their HR systems, create an Active Directory account, provide network setup, order a computer, and so on and so forth. And so the beautiful part is you'll notice on some of these tasks, there is a dependency, and that dependency requires that these particular tasks at the top need to be completed before these particular tasks are actually made active. And again, everything so far you've seen is pretty much out of the box, but I'm going to walk through and showing you how these tasks are actually created through the administration side. All right. So with that being said, let's jump into that. So again, the idea is that the catalog and the specific screens here that you see for this new employee setup is out of the box, and you can change or configure those. And then the second part of this is obviously the task creation for the different activities that occur when a new employee is actually requested. So just to show you that, I'm going to walk over into the administration console of Cherwell. And the first thing we're going to look at is that specific screen, so we can maybe possibly change the information that we're capturing for a new employee setup. And in order to do that, we'll use a Cherwell technology called blueprints. Blueprints allow me to actually modify the different configuration items within the system, the business objects, and whether that's modifying, change management requests, modifying the incident form itself, or specifically for this example, we're going to go to the supporting tab and show you the actual new employee specific screen. And here it is. So I can either edit the object to add or remove fields of data points that I capture, or I can edit the form itself and change what that looks like. All right. And before I do that, though, I just want to show you one thing. So you'll notice, and this is administratively speaking, there are different views for the system. So the default view is exactly what we're looking at here when I'm a technician looking at this particular screen here. You'll notice here I actually now have, did I order the laptop, did I order the keyboard or the travel power adapter or the mouse? And I don't want the user to see that. So when I change or make changes to these forms, I need to make sure I'm in the current view or the proper view. And for the self-service portal, it's portal default. And now when I edit this form, this looks like what it does on the self-service service catalog. So from here, you have the ability to modify and change the screen to whatever fits your specific needs. If you don't use a floor or room and you want to remove that, simply click it and hit the delete key on the keyboard. We'll actually remove that screen. And this is how easy Cherwell is to change or configure the settings. I can click and drag and move different fields around to clean up the area if I want. Or if there's something over here that I'd like to bring in, I can simply drag and drop it into the actual screen itself. So in this example, what I'd like to be able to do is, you'll notice under the software section, it's pretty basic in terms of what's there. It allows me to pick a software package, but that's about it. What if I wanted this particular new hire employee to represent or be similar to another employee in the system? So what I'm actually going to show you how to do is add a checkmark box to allow us to, say, to clone a user, and then even clone the configuration for that user from somebody else. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to go to the business object itself. Here I can see all the forms that are being captured, or already all the fields that are being captured already for this particular type of form. And I'm simply going to add a couple new fields. So first one will be clone user, and this will give them a checkmark box. So I'm going to actually make this a logical field. And then once they check that, I want to be able to say, you know, what user do we want to clone from? Okay, and here I'm actually making it a text field. I'll make it about 50 characters in length. Okay, and one more step for that, and this is again more of the power behind Cherwell and some of its administration capabilities, is that I can actually validate or select what will be populated in that field by default. And so from here I'm actually going to validate it from a table, and that table is actually going to be the customer internal object. And for those of you who are not familiar with Cherwell as much administratively, I can definitely cover this more in detail towards the end of the webinar. So for here, I'm going to actually validate the field from the customer internal object that already exists, again, out of the box. And I'm going to say I want it to validate the full name. So this way, when people actually click this field, they're going to see a list of all the full names of all the people that are already in the system today. Okay. So from there, I'll go back to my form, and I'll apply my changes. Go down to the software section, and let's make a little bit of room. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and look for these new fields that I created. As you can see, clone user is available as a checkmark box because I made that a logical field. And clone which user is also available, and I'll bring that right into the same area. Notice it automatically came in as a drop-down box because I validated against the customer internal record. Some of the nice things, again, with Cherwell in terms of form design is that you have the ability to make sure things are lined up a particular way. So if I click on my second field and then hold Control and select my first field, there are some toolbar options that are available to allow me to line them up or align them together. So I'll simply hit Align Tops, which will then move all the fields so that they're in the same kind of line or their tops are the same. If it looks like it's a little bit off, maybe I want to increase the size. I can actually make these very similar, so make the same height, and that'll bring that up a little bit. Again, align the tops, and now it looks clean and organized. So now that I've created these fields, I've modified the form to include those fields, I can now go ahead and publish this blueprint. And I can choose whether or not I want to save this blueprint. I won't for this purpose, and publish. One of the nice things or nice features about Cherwell also is that I have the ability to schedule these blueprints to be published. So maybe I didn't want to make this change in the middle of the day. I could have scheduled this to occur maybe in the middle of the night or over the weekend for these new changes to take effect. Okay, so now that I've actually completed the configuration and published the blueprint, the only thing I'm going to do to speed things up is restart my IIS server, just so those changes take effect a little quicker. You don't have to do that, but I like to do that just in case. And this will kill my session. Okay, so now as a customer or manager, maybe I will go in and log in to the customer portal. When I log in, I'll browse the service catalog just like I did before and select New Employee Setup, just like I did before. And now, when we go through the screen and actually go to answer some of the same similar questions, when I go down to the software, I can now see that there is a checkmark box for clone user and which user do I want to clone. based upon the people who are already in the system. Okay, so very easily, within a matter of minutes, I was able to basically modify my new hire or new employee setup workflow by being able to specify that we want to clone a particular user's software installation and pick the actual user who I wanted to mimic. Now, of course, you probably want someone on the technician side who will be doing the work to know this information. So what we're actually going to do next is look under the hood at the tasks that are created and create a new task for this software installation and whether or not, it needs to be cloned, and if it is cloned, who should we be cloning from? Okay, so let's start with that. So here you could see back at the administration screen, Cherwell has another feature called automation processes, okay, and we use blueprints for that as well. And one of the blueprint options or the automation processes that's already been turned on is new employee task creation. Okay, and just looking at that, I can edit that process and see exactly what that process is doing. And I can see here it's creating tasks for the new employees. If I want to look at that one step and actually see the details of that, well, that was interesting. Okay, so here are the actual one steps for the employee tasks, automatically again out of the box, but I'll actually add a new one. And the easiest and quickest way to do that is to simply copy one that already exists, or I can hit add and add a new one. So I'll go ahead and copy this one. I will call it software installation. And what you'll be able to see is what fields are being set by that particular one step or that task. So for this, I'll go ahead and delete what's in there for the description. And I'll say install software. Okay, and I can say for and add different variables from within that particular ticket. So from here, I'll go to the specifics form itself. And again, if you need to see this in more detail, a little bit lengthier or slower, I'm more than happy to re-show this again towards the end of the webinar. But just to go ahead and show you, I will pick the full name. So we're going to install software for the new user. And then from there, I can say clone user, and whether or not that's a yes or no or a true false. So I'll find those new fields that I created, again, under the specifics area. And if I scroll down, I'll see clone user. So that'll be either true or false. And if it is a clone user, it's user to clone. And I can actually go ahead and specify that here as well. Okay. And maybe I want to change some of the other fields that get automatically populated in that task, such as which team gets assigned as the owner of that task, what the title is. So again, I'll create this as software installation. And what type of ticket it is, it's a work item, and that's it. So now that I've created or entered in the necessary fields for this task, I'll go ahead and hit OK, and OK again. And I'll move it up just a little bit. And I'll even copy the save info just to make sure I'm officially changing that. Okay. And move that up right underneath my software installation. So now that I've modified the one step that's actually running when a new employee task is created, I'll hit OK. I'll publish this blueprint as well. Okay, and that is done. And that's how quickly and easy it is to actually make changes to the workflow. So just to show you again, I'll log back in to the portal. And again, request a new employee setup, just like I've done before. Fill out a few fields. Maybe fill out some information. Okay. Of course, I definitely want to fill in some of the hardware and software specs just so we can have those tasks created as well. And then again, for software, I will go ahead and make sure and select the clone user and which user to clone. and submit this. Okay, so it has now been submitted into the system. If I'm a technician and I want to see that on the technician interface, I'll go ahead and refresh that. Look for my new request, which should be right here. And again, we'll just wait one moment for it to refresh because I went a little bit quicker than normal. Normally this would happen pretty fast. Actually, let me do this. Apologize, give me 1 second. It's just running a little bit slower. Okay. And now we have our tasks. And in addition to all the normal tasks that are created, here's the software installation task, which we created. And there you can see install user or install software for the particular user and his name, clone the user, which is true, and we want to clone the Andrew Sims user. So again, you know, assuming everything else is set up normally, the owner of this particular record or the team would receive a notification that they have to install software for this new employee, and the software needs to mimic or be cloned by or from Andrew Sims. Okay, so very easily, within the matter of 10 or 15 minutes, I was able to modify the form, track new information as part of the new employee setup request, and automatically have tasks created with that custom information, again, within 10 or 15 minutes, no coding, all through the interface itself. So I hope that was somewhat useful for some of you on the webinar and that it answered some of your questions that you posed before when you joined. And at this point, I'd like to turn over the last 15 minutes of this webinar to any questions that you may have.
Yes, folks, feel free to go ahead and type in your questions, and we'll go ahead and read them off to Jason. The only question I've had so far is this being recorded? And yes, it is being recorded, and if you do wish to be able to view this at a later date, you need to actually request that of me, request a link from me for this, because of the type of webinar it is. You can email me at rich.longo, that's rich.longo, at flycastpartners.com, and I'll make sure you get a link to this afterwards. But for right now, we still have about 15 minutes or so, and I encourage our audience to go ahead and give us some questions, ask us some stuff that you've been wanting to know about the Cherwell tool, and, you know, whether it be cloud or whether it be, you know, on-premise based, whatever type of question that you have for this tool. Now, Jason, is there any other quick tips that you can give them right now when they first implement this tool? Anything that can make things easier or anything that you can throw out there?
Yeah, great question, Rich. So, you know, when you first implement Cherwell out of the box, it definitely is configured for you. There's everything you see here for the most part is out of the box and configured. What I will say though is that you definitely want to understand your workflows a little bit so that when you go to configure your automation processes, such as I did here, you're able to build that workflow and that process pretty quickly out of the gate. Now, everything that you see in this list has been created out of the box. So a lot of your common automation tasks, such as notifying change management owners that they have a new change management request, or maybe your problem tickets haven't been escalated within a proper amount of time. So all of these processes are in there for you. But I will say definitely in terms of helpful tips and tricks for an implementation of Cherwell is get your workflows together, understand what you need, and easily you can build it within the system, within the visual workflow editor.
Okay, and we do have a couple of questions when you're ready to take those now.
I'm ready.
All right, and this comes from Bob, and Bob wants to know in the customer portal, how can I present Knology articles to the customer to possibly assist them in solving their problem? That
is a great question, Bob. So out of the box, the Cherwell self-service portal, as you can see here, actually has knowledge-based articles already configured out of the box for you. Now, when you install Cherwell, you won't have any knowledge articles in there, so of course, you'd want to populate those appropriately. But as it relates to the portal, there's already a Search Our Knowledge Articles link or View Frequently Asked Questions link, which is available again out of the box. And when I click on those, it'll actually bring me into a knowledge base article search. And I can see the most popular knowledge articles and see those contents, or I can search for one, maybe something regarding print. And here's a list of all the different articles for print. Now, what's really nice about Cherwell versus some of the other ITSM tools out there is that when you create these articles, you have the ability or the control to format the text in terms of the solution itself. So you'll notice some text is bold while others are not. You're able to create bulleted lists so you can have numbering, and you can embed images within the article itself. So again, you know, other ITSM tools let you attach files, which we do as well, but the ability to embed the actual images within the article is pretty unique. In addition to that, out of the box, the articles already include the ability to rate the article, so you can determine whether or not users find this knowledge article useful or not. If you follow the KCS model, this will also align with that as well. Also, users can comment on articles if you let them, and then they can say whether or not this actually resolved their issue or not. And if not, by clicking this button, it will automatically log in a request or an incident based upon the information in this article. So again, out of the box, it's already there, and same thing with frequently asked questions. And if we actually look at the technician side of things, I can actually see the knowledge base articles. In my system, I have quite a few already, 348 articles. And this is kind of what they look like. When I look at the particular articles, there's their own independent workflow with them. You can submit them, approve them, publish them, choose whether or not they're available in the portal, and again, just be able to do really whatever you want with these articles and see how many likes, dislikes, how many times the voting was done. So you have a lot of great information, and so knowledge management is one of those ITIL processes that Cherwell has out of the box and is pink verified for. I hope that answered the knowledge article question.
Bob has a follow-up question. Is there a way to present articles that are related to the problem, the way the problem they are having based on the category, or et cetera?
That's a good question. So I'm assuming what Bob's mentioning is if I look at the service catalog and I have an issue with, say, an antivirus, being able to submit the incident and display articles here for that. And the answer is yes, it's not out of the box, but you can show those articles, and then behind the scenes, the ticket's already categorized as an incident against the antivirus. So you could have a dynamic filter, just show articles related to that same categorization. So I don't have it configured. It would take me a little bit longer to set that up, but the short answer is yes, you could show some articles down here in this screen if you wanted to.
All right. And Chris asks, can you embed video into those knowledge-based articles?
Very good question.
Bob says thanks, by the way. We appreciate your answer.
Oh, no problem. And just to recap, if anyone has questions after the webinar, feel free to reach out to me directly or through Rich, who's hosting the webinar. You can reach me at my first name dot last name, which is jason.gluck at flycastpartners.com. And I'll be more than happy to help answer some of these questions offline. To answer the question about embedding videos into the knowledge base article, unfortunately the answer is no. What I've seen is be able to provide links to those videos, such as their YouTube videos or internally hosted videos, but there is not a way to actually have a player built in to show that video right here. However, what I have seen is that people have modified the knowledge article screen here. And so when I look at it through the customer portal, I've actually seen people embed a player into this and play it through here. So out of the box, no. A little creative configuration, yes. In terms of being able to display a video within the actual knowledge base article solution.
Okay, hey, Chris says awesome, thanks. Any other questions out there from the audience? I know Evans wants to hear my email address again, and once again, for those of you that didn't get my email address, it was rich.longo@flycastpartners.com. That's RICH.LONGO@flycastpartners.com. We still have a few more moments, folks. Anyone else have a question or two out there? We'd love to hear it. And maybe a good job there, Jason, displaying it for everyone. If you'll display yours too, there it is, so everybody can see that. And Jason, how does it work? Everybody says it's so seamless to go from on-premise to SaaS. I mean, how easy is that really?
Oh, that's a great question. So the way that Cherwell has everything set up in terms of a SaaS cloud and their licensing model, it's actually very easy. And Cherwell support, the SaaS support team, will help you with that process, or our consultants can do it too. But ultimately, just to give a short summary, what you'll actually do is say you're on-premise today and you want to go to the cloud, you actually can go into the database settings and actually perform an export of your data. And when you do, you have an option to select your entire system. So by doing this particular type of export, it will take and dump everything, whether it's your configuration, your screens, your forms, your data. You can choose whether or not the attachments are there or not. And this will generate what we call as a ZAR file, C-Z-A-R. And that file you simply provide to the support team in Cherwell SaaS, and when they apply that ZAR file to a brand new install that they'll do for you, magically your entire system is in the cloud. And that's really the same way to go back or forth. So if you're in SaaS now and you want to go to on-premise, you just install a new instance in your own server. You take the ZAR file from your SaaS server, and magically your entire system, configuration, data, and everything is basically rebuilt in that new install. So I've seen most customers complete this changeover within a matter of hours, or maybe an hour at most. And then, of course, the hard part is just changing your DNS entry to point to the new URL. But other than that, it's pretty seamless and easy. So it's all about the ZAR file and the ability to back up the entire system.
And another question, is there an asset management piece that comes with this tool?
So yes and no, great question. So in terms of asset management, Cherwell out of the box provides what an ITIL term we call CMDB, or Configuration Management Database. And out of the box, it's already pre-configured to support all of these different types of configuration items, such as computers, servers, printers, routers, whatever it may be. And here you can see how that's already set up for me with some fake information. And most customers we find actually already use some sort of asset management tool like Microsoft SCCM or SolarWinds, or any kind of networking type tool, which then can be integrated and import that data directly into the CMDB. Or as of right now, Cherwell offers the Cherwell Discovery and Inventory add-on. I think it's the only add-on they have that costs a little bit more than what is provided out of the box. And that will basically do a ping sweep across the network, detect all your devices, and bring it into the CMDB for you. And just as a little FYI or extra tidbit for joining the webinar, in case you didn't know, Cherwell actually already acquired a company called XpressMetrics. They have a very strong asset management tool, and our Cherwell team is actually developing the integration for that tool now. So you'll actually see XpressMetrics being released with Cherwell in the next upcoming months, maybe 6 months or so. But so that'll provide a lot more detail and information within the asset management side of this. The only thing that Cherwell doesn't really do in terms of asset management is the deployment and patching of systems. That would be a third-party tool.
Okay, Jason, I think we pretty much have reached the end. Do you have any other parting comments?
I just wanted to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules to spend an hour with us going through some Cherwell stuff. It's very exciting.
Once again, I want to thank Jason for presenting for us today and sharing his knowledge with us about this tool. It's pretty exciting, some of the things that this tool can do and where the future of Cherwell is actually going. I do encourage you to go to our cherwellpartner.com for any other additional information, their customer success stories, white papers, etc. Also, feel free to go to our professional services page from our main website, flycastpartners.com, and there's a plethora of information there, and we'd be more than happy to help you out with actually searching for that next tool or help you get the tool working the way you want it to work. So reach out to us through either of our websites. You can chat with us live online. We have someone on our chat live during normal business hours, or call 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-FLYCAST, and we'll be happy to take your questions there. Once again, Jason has given you both of our email addresses, and we want to thank you for your time today and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And until next time, have a good one.